Alrighty. Today we're going to be talking about summer goals. Everyone has them around this time of year. Everyone starts to think about, oh, let's get ready for the summer. And we're just going to kind of break these things down into, are they detrimental or are they helpful? That's the conversation today. Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest thing that I notice when it comes to summer goals is that a lot of people get these like really lofty aesthetic goals. They're like, okay, great. 8 weeks until summer. I need to lose 20 pounds to look in a good in a bikini. So just going off of that, I want to know kind of what your thoughts are with that.
So as far as like a weight loss plan for summer, on its own, I don't think it's a terrible idea. I think you should feel completely free to make your own goals, aesthetic related, performance related, confidence related. So that's kind of where I like let my clients choose of like, how would you like to go about this? But also like it's our job to make sure that people are setting realistic expectations and also safe expectations as well, obviously. I think as a society, we've kind of been like conditioned to chase after these like 60-day, 2-month, maybe quick fixes of like, oh, I know that I've been absolutely sending it all winter and like not paying attention to a single thing. Oh my gosh, that's my alarm. Wake up. And just like, yeah, I know that I've been eating whatever I want all like 6 to 8 months over the winter, and it's summertime. So now I have 3 weeks to get rid of all of it. Right. And that's just not how it works. Like, I wish it was, don't get me wrong, but I think that there are safe and healthy ways to do that if you plan accordingly. Right. We did it a few years ago, but we started our like mini cut or whatever. What was it? February?
Yeah.
Late January. Like we gave ourselves plenty of time that we were in like slight caloric deficits. We added in some extra cardio a couple times a week. And it was more of like, how can we feel better by summer and not sacrifice our performance, but also like lose a little bit of our body fat before summer. And I don't think it was necessarily like I want to get a 6-pack so that I look good in a bikini. You know, of course, like it's just like, oh, I'm doing this because I want to feel confident and everybody wants to feel comfortable. So that's like a different conversation. But yeah, I think it just depends on like how you're going about it and what your mindset is going through it. Because we talk too about like losing weight in any sort. If your mindset's not right, it's not going to make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? I think having aesthetic goals, there's literally nothing wrong with that. I think wanting to be a little leaner in the summer is completely natural. Like you are going to have more skin on display if you're planning on going to the beach, going to pools, going to, you know, just any kind of event where you're in a bikini, which is less clothes than we normally wear. Even just like a normal bathing suit. If you're not a bikini gal, it's totally fine. But I think when it becomes an issue is when you think that looking good in that bikini is going to solve a lot of the confidence issues that you've had leading up into that point. Mm-hmm. Like losing 10 to 20 pounds is a significant amount of weight for a lot of people. But like if it's someone like who is you or me, where 10 to 20 pounds of your body weight is pretty substantial.
Yeah.
Like that's not going to fix the confidence issues that you had at 10 to 20 pounds heavier. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's when these types of goals become detrimental, or when we're like what you said, you're doing the fast track to weight loss. Like people don't tend to understand that the amount of time that it took you to get to where you are is the amount of time it's going to take you to get it off, if not longer.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to put on weight than it is to take it off. And so we do these 30, 60, 90-day quick shreds, which we did one. Like it's not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but it's when you're spending 30, 60, 90 days at like 8 to 1,500 calories that you start to get into a little bit of trouble. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that if you're not, and this is my personal opinion, unless you're doing like a bodybuilding show, there is no logical reason to cut that low in calories. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
really just not. And like you said, there are more sustainable ways to do that. Like we did it. Like
Right.
we were maybe in what, 200 calorie deficits, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah. I think the lowest I ever went was like maybe 1750.
Yeah.
Like, and I would have thought at the time that that would have been maintenance for me. And then I followed those like religiously for a couple months and I was just like, oh shoot, I am leaning out a little bit, you know? So I think a lot of people too think that their maintenance is a lot lower than it
Yeah.
actually is. And so they're just kind of like, oh, well, here's what I normally eat. Let's cut that in half and then I'll have to lose weight, right?
Yeah.
But that comes with
Absolutely.
cutting a lot of corners too, because nobody can live that way.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing that people don't realize about cutting weight in any form is that it does take that level of dedication. Like you
Mm-hmm.
can't just cut calories Monday through Friday, and then like go ham on the weekend because you've cut
Yeah.
yourself so low throughout the rest of the week and then still see those results. And so then you end up
Yeah.
in this cycle of I call it the RP cycle. I see people do it all the time with RP where they're
Mm-hmm.
super low calories, super low macros. And so through on the weekend, they just like blow it all. They just like
Yeah.
go crazy, like eat an entire pizza for 3 meals a day. Because
Mm-hmm.
they're so like overly restricted. And then they're like, well, why am I not losing weight? And so then they're like, well, I just need to
Right.
do the cut again. But it's just
Mm-hmm.
this horrible, like perpetual cycle. And I think that that's
Yeah.
what a lot of summer goals do. They do, like, they promise quick weight loss, which most of the weight loss is not true fat mass when you're doing things that quickly. It just isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the summer or like halfway through the summer, they're like, oh my God, I'm so tired of this. And so then they just like start doing what they were doing before that got them to
Yeah.
that point.
Right.
And so, what are your thoughts on sustainability when it comes to being able to lean out for the summer, but stay lean throughout the summer, not go through that cycle?
Yeah. So I think like what we just talked about of like doing it in a very minor way of like, okay, I'm going to track my food. I'm at an appropriate macro level still. Like I'm never feeling like super hungry. I can still like go to the gym. I can still hang out with my friends. Um, the one thing of like starting a diet that's not sustainable is like if you try to cut out everything, right? Because like that's not how life is. Like you can't just be like, "Oh, well, I'm just going to not go out to dinner with my friends." Or I'm just never going to go through a drive-through or eat out at a restaurant everywhere. Like ever. And that's just not realistic. Like setting like realistic goals in that sort of way so that it's just kind of like, okay, well, maybe you keep your same meals throughout your day, but like we slightly decrease portion sizes. So it's like you still feel like you're eating the same amount, but it could just be like a few grams less here or there. That adds up, you know, but that's like something
Yeah.
that you can stick to throughout the week too. So it doesn't need to be like, oh, well, now I normally eat 3 meals a day and now I'm only allowed to eat two because I want to
Yeah.
get shredded, you know?
Yeah.
So that itself, um, sustainability too, I think is like find foods to eat throughout your week that you actually enjoy. No one's
Yeah.
going to stick to a chicken, rice, and broccoli every single meal of the day, every
Yeah.
day of the week, unless you genuinely love that, then go for it, you know, go ham. But like my favorite thing every single day, I eat sweet potato fries. I freaking love sweet potato fries. You know, I get the frozen ones, I air fry them every day. So I feel like I'm eating French fries every single day, and I love them. And that's something that, like, that's my carb choice, you know, instead of eating like
Yeah.
rice or eating pasta. Like I love French fries. So I'm going to keep those in my diet. It's all portion control, right? Like I'm not going to have like an entire bag in one sitting that's meant for like to last for 2 weeks. But,
Yeah.
you know, like I can still have the foods that I like. Um, Also, I think not putting a set end date on things is really
Yeah.
important as well, because it's kind of like, okay, I want to get shredded for summer. It's like, well, when is summer? You know, like, are you gonna start this in the beginning of March and then the second it hits May 1st, like, are you done? Because
Yeah.
that's not gonna carry through your summer, you know, instead of being like, okay, this is a 60 days, got to tough it out. It's like, well, what's it going to take to change this so that it lasts for more than 60 days? You know,
Yeah.
like I cannot imagine like following a diet plan where I'm just like, just get through these 30 or 60 days. Like, this is so terrible that I could not stick with this for a day longer if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Um, so like thinking of this more of like a lifestyle change rather than a set end date,
Yeah.
because after we finished ours, like, yeah, leading up to summer, I guess, like I stayed consistent like through the end of July, I'm pretty sure. But I mean that by through July, I tracked absolutely everything. Then going into August, I was still eating all of the same things. I just wasn't weighing and tracking every single thing because I had done it every single day for like 5 months, you know?
Yeah.
So it was more of like, okay, I trust myself and I trust the habits that I've built, but I'm also going to chill out a little bit and know that I've put in the work and I've made the habits so that I don't have to be as specific about absolutely everything, you know?
Yeah.
Um, I think what a lot of people don't realize too is just in the summertime, you're way more active than you normally are, anyways.
I know. I tell
You
people that
know?
all the
So,
time.
yeah, it's like easy to think of like when you're holed up in the winter time, like, oh, this is going to be absolutely horrible to try to lose weight because like right now I'm cutting my calories and I'm not seeing a difference. But in the winter, like your weekends are probably spent like watching a movie on the couch, right? Whereas summer, it's like you're hiking, you're biking, you're like out at the beach, you're walking around outside. Like all of these things add up already. So there's another reason for you to not cut your calories in half, you know, because your
Yeah.
like energy expenditure is going up. So
Yeah.
lots of
And that
thoughts,
really comes
but
down to like biology too. Like if you think about it, like in the winter, like think of an animal for like example, like bears hibernate because they need to store fat and energy for winter.
yeah.
Like we have that same biological disposition. Like there's even studies that come out that show that humans tend to crave more potatoes in the winter than in the summer
Girl, that's
because
all
it
year
takes
round.
I know. Girl, give me a tater tot, give me a French fry,
Yes,
mashed,
seriously.
smashed, boiled, broiled, whatever it is, I'm gonna eat it. I love potatoes. But it's like
Hmm.
the starchiness and the fiber is something that is typically more easily stored than like, say, I don't know, like fruit, right? Like, so
Hmm.
we have a lot of these biological like things that are happening that are different between summer and winter. And in the winter, part of that again is you rest. You like have this kind of like hibernation instinct where you are laying a little lower because it's cold outside. It's
Hmm.
harder to preserve warmth. Like it's really it goes so much deeper than just being like, oh, it's winter, I feel lazy. Like there is
Hmm.
a biological component to that. And then same with like the summer. It's lighter, longer outside. Like that's why the farmer's almanac is the way that it is. Like that's how what I think of when I think of summer. Like there's longer planting days. Like there's more light out, so farmers tend to do more. That's why you have a lot more like seasonal produce in the summer. And so there's all of these things that combine to where yes, in winter, we live very different lifestyles most of the time. Some people are really active during the winter. Kudos to you. It couldn't be me. I don't like the cold
Brave.
that much. Yeah, like I'm not a skiing girl. It ain't for me.
A winter
Um,
runner, those people blow my mind.
Oh my God, our half marathon, when we walked out the door for the half marathon in Bobby the Fool, it was 21 degrees outside.
Absolutely not.
I was like, why
Absolutely
did we
not.
choose a winter run? Why did we do that? Um,
Mm-mm.
Straight up almost turned around and went inside, but Bobby was like, I paid for you to do this half marathon. You are not getting out of this. And I was
Oh
like,
my
but
gosh. I would have been like, sorry, I'll pay you back. Put me on a payment plan.
like, it is cold. I don't want to do that. But you're right. You do naturally start to become a little more active in the summertime. Again, it's brighter longer. After work, the sun is usually still out. You tend to go to more like breweries. That's a really big thing now where you're standing more often than you're sitting. Or you go to more like functions, like there's more birthday parties, there's more celebrations, there's more holidays in the summer other than like your typical, like there are 3 winter holidays. Like, let's be honest, like there's Thanksgiving.
And they're meant to sit and eat.
Yeah, they're sitting and eating holidays. They're not even like active
Yeah.
holidays. Like 4th of July, most people go to a barbecue or a grill and they're standing around, they're talking, they tube, they
Yeah.
do all these kind of awesome things. And so you naturally do increase your energy expenditure in the summer. So if you drastically
Hmm.
cut your calories without taking that into account, you now end up in an even larger deficit, which logic would tell you that that's going to help you lose weight. Yes, that's true. But you're also going to adapt to those calories and it will stalemate and plateau just like any other deficit. So
Hmm.
you have to be smart. It's not just about let's slash calories and hope for the best.
Right.
So, all of this stuff being said, how can we actually lose weight for the summer or lose fat, recomp, however you want to think of it, like not necessarily just losing weight, but like actually lose body fat sustainably towards our summer goals without the crashing, the yo-yo dieting, the cycling through low calories, high calories, the, restrict binging, all of that stuff. How can we sustainably approach that goal to where we achieve the fat loss, but also are more likely to keep it?
So, like we said before, I think, well, first off, get a coach if you don't know what you're doing.
Please start
Trust
there.
somebody else who's smarter than you, even if it's just to set your macros. Like even that little of a difference is gonna set you up for more success than you just guessing and being like, okay, well, I think that I'm burning. Like I had somebody say this to me. They're just like, I think I'm burning 1,500 calories a day, and I heard that to lose fat, I need to be in a 500 calorie deficit. So I just set my calories to 1,000. And I was like, what on earth? Like, especially if it's just for that. Like, set someone at least to track your macros, if not, go through the whole process with you to make sure that you were doing it safe and sustainably. Like we had each other the whole time we were doing that whole challenge. So it was kind of like the both of us tag teaming, like coaching
Mm-hmm.
each other and getting feedback from each other to make sure we weren't trying to do anything too reckless, right? So in that same vein of just putting yourself in probably a little bit less of a deficit than you think you need to, because again, with your increased energy expenditure, you're not going to need to be in as much of a deficit as if you were trying to cut a bunch of weight in the wintertime, right? um, Other than that, prioritizing cooking your meals at home. We always talk a lot about like an 80-20 split of like 80% of your meals should be like made from home, should be whole foods, and then the other 20% could be like your weekends of like going out to dinner with friends, or like going to a function and like having a couple of drinks, like that's your other 20%, but making sure that that stays your 20%. And you're also like, there's two ends of the spectrum of being really consistent Monday through Thursday and then absolutely sending it like Friday through Sunday. Or there's the other of like, oh, I'm not going to mess up at all,
Yeah.
and I'm going to stay completely adherent to this plan, and like Monday through Sunday, like every single meal at my house, every gram weighed, like I'm not going to go to anything. Like that's also not sustainable. So finding a good balance for you of like, that could be like, while we were doing that, I always knew that Thursday night was like girls' night where we would make pizzas at the house and have like a couple glasses of wine while we watched The Bachelorette. You know, like that was part of my plan and something that I needed to work in. So I did. And like there's ways also to work that into your macros. So even though it seems like you're having a crazy fun night, like it's still within your goals, you know?
Yeah.
Or like I always knew that on Saturday night, like we were going to go out to a restaurant. And like that was what I limited myself to because I also did have a goal. Like if you have a goal, you're going to have to make changes and there's going to have to be some level of sacrifice, right? So that was what it was for me where I was just like, okay, my weekends would normally it would be like brunch, lunch out, dinner out on Saturday, Sunday. I was just like, okay, I'll choose like a dinner out on Saturday, maybe a Sunday brunch if I'm feeling crazy, but like limiting myself at that because I did have like a timely goal that I wanted to reach. Um, Other than that, prioritizing your protein, very, very important as well, because obviously if you're in a deficit, the first thing that wants to go is your muscle mass.
Yes.
So making sure you're eating enough lean protein and keeping up with your strength training as well. Um, some people blow my mind and they're able to like PR things during that time and like lift way heavier than they ever have, and more power to you. I was in like a strict, like, let's maintain this strength while I'm trying to cut a bit of weight. But either way, I was still like putting in my best effort every time I was at the gym. I was prioritizing my strength training, and then making sure that if nothing else, like I was hitting my protein goal every single day.
Yeah.
Um, so those would be my main things to think about.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think one, like you said, a sustainable deficit. That's so important. And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people overlook it. Just because, like you said, with like the summer timeline, like what is the summer timeline for you? For me,
Yeah.
from like where we live or where you once lived in South Carolina, summer is through the end of September. Like even November, the first weeks of November can be really hot.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like we can go to the beach all the way through September. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, that's like, okay, well, if I start now, like by the end of September, like that's pretty solid chunk of time. And that's something that if I do a sustainable deficit, I can do for a long time through September. And then I won't have to do the crashing and I won't have to do super
Mm-hmm.
unsustainable things. Like, I don't know, like I've seen people talk about it before, and a few girls have come to me saying they want to get lean for summer. And they're like, great, I want 800 calories a day. But then you watch on their Instagram stories and they're like getting schwasty every weekend, and I'm like, okay, well, you're doing really great
There's like, but
Monday.
there's no macros in alcohol, so it doesn't count, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay. I hope you guys can tell that we're being so sarcastic.
Yeah,
Um,
seriously, please.
and then the other issue with the alcohol is the fact that you tend to have lower inhibition, so you make worse food choices. So now you're drinking a fuck ton of alcohol, but then you're also eating, I don't know, 18 boneless wings that have been fried and smothered in honey barbecue. And so it adds up
Mm-hmm.
really quickly. And so that's what we mean by the unsustainable thing. Like you're so restricted throughout the week that on the weekend you just go absolutely ballistic because you're like, well, I haven't been able to enjoy anything that I'm eating up until this point. So I 100% agree with the sustainable macros. And even if you do have like a shorter window for summer, so like say summer for you, like you're a student, and so summer for you ends in August or at the end of July, like from April to the end of July, that's still a good chunk of time. You can still do a lot
Mm-hmm.
of awesome things. But then at the end of that period, you're so much less likely to go back through a really heavy weight gain cycle in the winter, so that by the time you roll around to the next summer, you don't have as far to go. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
another thing that people overlook is that like if you're doing something super crazy through the summer to where you end up in the same cycle, the same, like the second that winter rolls around, you start at the exact same spot, if not the worst, like a worse spot the upcoming year.
Mm-hmm.
Like if obviously you don't have to be like super lean and have a six pack all year round, but like just from my personal like experience, like when we went through Daddy to the Shreddy, like I only had about 5 pounds to lose to get to the body that I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to have for the summer. Because even throughout the winter, I was mindful and it was sustainable and I was able to make positive choices to where I only gained about like 5-ish pounds in the winter. And I still got to
Mm-hmm.
enjoy all the things I wanted to do. I still got to have fun and I still got to eat stews because I wanted beef stew all the time to stay warm and stew, you know? And I got
Primal.
yeah, and I got to enjoy holiday eating and whatnot because it wasn't just a quick fix for me. It was like, okay, this is becoming part of my lifestyle. So that way, by the time I get here again next year, I don't have to like super cut for summer. So
Mm.
that's another thing too. It's like, are you wanting to just have a quick fix for summer? Or are you wanting this to become something that's sustainable that you can do for life to see lifelong results instead of cyclical results?
Yeah.
Because like a 5 pound weight gain or weight loss fluctuation, even like 5 to 10, that's really not that big.
Mm-hmm.
But it's when you get to
Yeah,
the
I
point
think
where,
I only ended up losing like maybe 5 pounds too,
yeah,
if
like there
that.
wasn't that much to lose to feel confident,
Mm-mm.
which made it easier to adhere to. But then at the end of it, we didn't gain 20 pounds back because we were like
Right.
so restricted over the summer, which is what I see a lot of people do. They're like, I need to lose 20 pounds for the summer. So they lose the 20 pounds with horrible, horrible things like only eating fish and broccoli. Like I would throw up if you asked me to only eat fish and broccoli every day.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the summer, they gain the 20 pounds back. So they're back at square one. And I'm like, was it worth
Hmm.
it?
Or worse, sometimes it goes farther in the opposite
Yeah, they
direction.
lose.
And the next year, they're just like, okay, well, I need to diet harder because I
Yeah,
like went in reverse.
exactly. And I'm like, if you had just chosen a sustainable method from the beginning, we wouldn't have to keep doing this cycle. And like it compounds. It just compounds so quickly. My mom is a prime example. She used to diet for summer every year. And every year at the end of summer, she would gain an additional 10 pounds. So if she started the summer or like started the beginning of the summer at 130, the next summer she'd be at 140. The next summer she'd be at 150. And it just kept adding up because she just kept yo-yo dieting, like just crashing and raising, crashing and raising.
Right.
So it's super important to approach it sustainably. And so
Hmm.
then the last thing I wanted to talk about is summer is the time for travel every time. And
Mm.
that's one of the primary objections that I hear people say to me when they're like, I have goals for the summer, but I travel. So I'm not willing to put in the time, the effort, the money, whatever it is. I'm not willing to invest in myself because I have to travel. And I don't like, there's no way I can be successful while traveling. That's not true. That is so
Hmm.
not true. Like, and I think that you're a really good example of this. Like, I remember this summer that we did Daddy to the Shreddy. You were everywhere. Like, you were back and forth between Georgia and South Carolina. You went to Mexico that year, didn't you? Like, you went out with all your
Puerto Rico,
girls.
yeah.
Puerto Rico, exactly. And
Hmm.
you did not come back with substantial weight gain. You did not come back like not fitting in your clothes. Like, you did all of those
Yeah.
amazing things. No changes, no changes at all.
Yeah.
So
And
tell
I
me about
think
it. Tell me about traveling.
yeah. So traveling, I feel like people use that as an excuse to go absolutely crazy as
Yes.
well. And don't get me wrong, like you're on vacation, enjoy your time. Like there's obviously going to be like food and drinks there that you wouldn't normally have in your everyday. So definitely like your vacation is your time to enjoy that. But I think people have this mindset while they're going on whatever trip it is that they're kind of like, okay, get ready for my trip. Once I get on my trip, like this
It's
is what
free
I've worked
reign.
for. So that's the end goal, you know? So like, let's just go crazy. And that's when you see people getting back from trips being like 5 to 10 pounds heavier than when they got there. And what I will say is that whether it was that Puerto Rico trip or like I just got back we went to Hawaii over Thanksgiving. Before and after those trips, there was not a single weight change for me. And I enjoyed my time. Do not get me wrong. Like there was like multiple drinks a day. Like we were going out to like local restaurants, like trying all of the good food there. But also I didn't let myself go absolutely crazy, you know? So it was just like, okay, I'm having my few glasses of wine like throughout the day and at dinner, but every single morning, whether it was in Puerto Rico or while I was in Hawaii, like I was up at 7 or 8 a.m. and I worked out in the morning. Like that was just a non-negotiable for me.
Yeah.
Um, Another thing was just like, okay, I'm having my wine with whatever meal it is. Um, and maybe I won't get fried chicken and french fries. You know, it's just kind of like, okay, I'm going to get my lean protein option. I'll get like my mashed potatoes on the side, whatever. And I made sure that I was still eating vegetables as well. You know, just like use your common sense. It's like all the stuff that you've been practicing while you're at home. It might look different while you're on a ship or like
Yeah.
while you're in an airport or like at some local restaurant, but like food is food. Like it's similar to what you're making at home, minus like the few add-ins here and there, you know?
Yep.
Um, I think keeping in mind too that sure, going crazy right now seems like a great idea, but is it worth it to reverse all of the hard work that you've put in, and will you
Yeah.
feel better about it afterwards? You know, not saying that you
Yeah.
need to have like a guilty conscience or something for like enjoying your time, or like if you do have one meal that's a little bit above and beyond and you know that, like have your meal, move on, get back on it the next day, you know?
Yeah.
So as far as traveling goes, like I really do think it's just like prioritizing the habits you've already made while you're at home. You know,
Yeah.
like never once did I have this mindset of I'm on vacation, I'm going to eat whatever I want whenever I want and just like lay around. You
Yeah.
know, like prioritize your lean proteins, prioritize getting a couple veggies in per day, drink tons of water, especially if you're drinking. Um, Move too, you know, like you're probably going to a cool place or spending time with friends, like you're going to want to be up and active. And that's kind of how like I was able to maintain my weight or even honestly lose a little bit while I was gone. You know, like
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be like this all or nothing approach,
Yeah.
even when
Yeah.
you're on vacation.
Absolutely. 100%. I think that's what a lot of people get into trouble with is they're like, okay, this is vacation. I can just send it. Like, I can just
Mm-hmm.
send it. I can do whatever I want. And I think that comes back to that mentality of, are you doing unsustainable things before your vacation? Like, if you are someone who's like, I eat 1,200 calories a day, so when I'm going on vacation, I'm going to like just go ham. Again, it just comes back to this: stop doing unsustainable things. Like if you can do
Yeah.
one thing for yourself, for every single client that I've had that has ever gone on vacation, they have not come back heavier. And it's because we've like instilled a lot of these awesome habits. And it's not like they're going on vacation and they're eating only grilled chicken. Like that's not what's happening. But they are eating fruits and veggies with every meal or one of the other. Like for they're eating fruit with breakfast or they're eating veggies with lunch and dinner. They're moving around. They are enjoying their time. They're like most of the time not even tracking. Like we don't even track on vacation. It's just like,
Mm-hmm.
how can we make a good choice for you right now in this moment that's going to continue moving you towards your goal? And sometimes that is having a fun food. Like that is having the fried chicken and like the fish and chips, if you want to think of it that way. That's what I think of when I think
Yeah.
of like fried food because I'm not a big fried chicken gal. Um,
What?
it's it's not my thing. It's never been my thing.
Oh,
I don't like it. I don't like the way it smells. It freaks me out. Um, but it's like, okay, like for example, when I went on a cruise, I came back 5 pounds lighter. And it was because like for breakfast, I was like, amazing. They have eggs, they have fruit, they have breakfast meat, they have blah blah blah. I ate those foods and I moved on. Like I wasn't sitting there
Mm-hmm.
obsessing over the food. And it also wasn't one of those things like, same thing when I was in Italy. In Italy, there's like tons of pastries. You eat pastries for breakfast. Like that's what you do, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would have a pastry, I would sit there, I would enjoy it, and I would move on. Like if you are constantly like stuffing yourself to the point where you're uncomfortable, not only have you ruined your entire day, like you're gonna feel like garbage the entire
Yeah,
day if
seriously.
you're like going ham all the time. And to me, when I'm having that conversation with myself, I'm like, okay, I'm on vacation. Do I want to feel like garbage after this meal? Most of the time, the answer
Mm-hmm.
is no. So I make the informed and the educated decision for myself. And that's what we teach our clients to do as well, to make those informed decisions for themselves. That is going to set them up for the best success both that day and long term. Now, long
Mm-hmm.
term, sometimes that's having the fun meal. And then other days, that's like eating nutritious food because you know it's going to make you feel better, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and I think again, that just plays into what you said of using your common sense. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
really, truthfully, and honestly, like, if you know that, like, the other thing too, I feel like with travel is like you just lose mindfulness when in reality, that's
Mm-hmm.
the time to be the most mindful because you don't have anything else to worry about. You're on vacation.
Right.
But you'll
I always
rush.
use the example too of like if you know that a triple bacon mac and cheese burger would not normally fit in your macros, like you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
like use your
exactly.
common sense.
Yeah, and like that can be a fun thing that you do once and then plan around it. But
Yeah.
it's like I see time and time again, these people are really struggling with vacation, and it's just because they're not mindful. They're just doing whatever they
Mm-hmm.
want. They're not thinking about how they're going to feel afterwards. Um, like if you know that eating or like you're sitting down, you're eating with friends, you're talking, blah, 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 but you just like stuff your face because you're like, oh, let's just keep chatting and keep stuffing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like think about what happens on like a holiday when you do that, like Thanksgiving. You feel like garbage, but
Yeah,
you're on
you really
vacation.
do.
But you are on vacation, so you're like, oh, it's whatever. And so you just stop thinking about what you're doing. I guess what I'm trying to say is like the fact that you stop enjoying your food, like or you don't allow yourself to enjoy it because you're like, oh, I just have to get as much in as possible. So I'm just going to rush
Mm-hmm.
through it. But like if you were to just sit and enjoy your meal and be mindful, your body's going to tell you when you're full. Your body is going to tell you when you're
Right.
satisfied. We just don't tend to listen to that. And that's what I tend to coach my clients through while on vacation is like, okay, even if it's a fun food, I want you to slow down. I want you to chew each bite thoroughly. I want you to really be present and enjoy this meal. And your
Mm-hmm.
body's going to tell you when you're done. Like it's
Right.
going to tell you with that double bacon mac and cheese burger when you've had enough. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be like, okay, like we're starting to feel full. We're starting to feel a little gross and greasy. Let's move on.
Yeah. I think it's important to address like the opposite end of the spectrum too, of like those people who go on vacation and they feel like they can't eat anything.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Especially like a beach vacation or something. They're just like, oh, well, I'm going to be in a swimsuit all day. So I'll have like some watermelon for breakfast. I'll have like a bottle of water and like half of a sandwich for lunch. And then like I'll eat a normal dinner. But like you've also been starving and dehydrated all day. Like that's also not a way to live. Like who
No.
cares if you're in a swimsuit? Like I had to realize too that like I care about myself way more than anybody else cares about like what I look like. Like nobody's giving it a second thought.
Yeah.
And like that only is not like a health hazard of you like especially if you're at the beach like getting heat stroke, but
Yeah.
like eat your food, like no one's going to be able to or no one's going to give you a hard time for that. Like eat your
Yeah.
normal breakfast. I always say that like first thing in the morning is the perfect time to like set your day off on the right foot, right? So like prioritize your breakfast, at least get some good protein in there, like have your fruit, drink a bottle of water, and then like go from there. So you're already setting yourself up better than if you like were to wake up and have a Pop-Tart and go,
Yeah.
or the unlimited breakfast buffet that's on most cruise ships.
Yeah.
So just stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think that comes back to like the thing that we teach our clients about, like just having a balanced meal. Like
Mm-hmm.
literally, if you're on vacation, have at least 3 balanced meals. Like, and then
Mm-hmm.
the rest of your time can be your fun. Like that can be your drinks, your desserts, your fun
Yeah.
stuff. But as long as you are having a protein with each meal and at least 3 meals, at least breakfast, lunch, dinner, like don't be
Mm-hmm.
skipping any meals on vacation. Having a protein, having a fat, having a carbohydrate, having either a veggie or a fruit with every single meal and a glass of water. Like that is going to like, it's so simple. But again, we just stop thinking about it. But, or we either
Mm-hmm.
just are like you said, like nobody cares what you look like after breakfast more than you. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to
Yeah.
notice. Nobody's going, literally no
Mm-mm.
one. And if they are, then that's a them problem, not a you problem. And so if you can just do simple things, even while you're on vacation, it's going to go a long, long way. So the 3 tips for being on vacation, summer, traveling, all that good stuff. Number 1, prioritize breakfast. Number 2, get some movement in. And then number 3, which we didn't talk about, but guys, you can go on vacation and stop at grocery stores. Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to rely on
Especially like road
restaurants.
trips and stuff. Like it's different like if you're going like out of the country or like staying in a
Mhm.
hotel, but like there's also still ways to do that. So like if
Yeah.
you don't have access to a grocery store, then fine. But if you're doing like a little road trip and you're staying in like an Airbnb, which is like what most vacations are now, like you have a full kitchen most likely. Like there's a grocery store right around the corner. It's not an excuse to be like, oh, I'm out of town. Like we just had to eat out for every single meal. I'm like, no, you didn't. you
No,
know?
you didn't. I mean, and you and I do a really good job of that every single time we travel. Like if you come here or if I go there, we always go to a grocery store for at
Mm-hmm.
least 2 to 3 meals, like at least. And we go out and we eat out too. Like it's not that we're
Yeah.
only eating out at grocery stores. Like we went to Vicious Biscuit last time you were here and it was
Mm-hmm.
dank. It's one of my
I
favorite
think we
places.
do a good job though of like one meal out each day when we're
Yeah.
together. So like if we're together for 4 days, like yes, we will go out to restaurants 4 day or 4 times. But also
Yeah.
it's just like we make breakfast at the house most days. We'll
Hmm.
make like lunch on the go or we'll cook a dinner at home. We just like try to find that moderation there as well.
Yeah, and it's a super simple thing to do. Like literally the last time I was there, we went to Trader Joe's. We got pre-made turkey burgers. All we had to do was heat them in the oven. Like
Yeah,
all we had to do was heat them up. We
seriously.
got pre-made fries. All we had to do was throw them in an air fryer and you air fried some broccoli. It was that
Yeah.
simple. Like, and we
Hmm.
covered all of our bases. It was delicious. It was so
Yeah.
like both of us are still eating turkey burgers since.
It's like a twice weekly staple for me now.
Yeah, like they're so good and it's just so underutilized. And I think this even like goes for like when you're on the road, like you can stop and get a pub sub versus stopping at
Hmm.
McDonald's. You can stop and get
Yeah.
grilled nuggets from Chick-fil-A instead of, I don't know, going to like a Captain D's. I don't know. Um,
Hmm.
I'm sure Captain D's is lovely. It's a place I've never gone and I never will
I
go.
haven't been there in years. Goodness.
Yeah, I haven't been there. Or like,
Yeah.
yeah, so you can stop and go to grocery stores. Like you can make better
Hmm.
choices. Like you don't have to be completely dependent on eating out unless you just want to. But not only is that just a little bit more, you can't control what you can't control kind of thing.
Hmm.
So like you don't know what's in those foods. You don't know what the exact calories or macros are. But again, it doesn't really matter
It's
on vacation.
expensive too.
Um, that's what I was about to say. It's expensive. It's so expensive. Like
Hmm.
if you can go and get something from Trader Joe's or Publix or whatever and have 2 to 3 meals off of it for $15 to $20, like that's very different than going out and getting a single meal for $20. So
Yeah.
those are our 3 tips for travel. That's what we have to say about getting ready for summer. Make smart choices.
One thing we didn't address, which this might make us run over on our time, but I think it's a very important topic to talk about, is if you're not confident at the beginning of the summer before you start trying to lose weight, you're not going to be happy at the end of the summer either. One thing that I remember when we started that whole cut in the first place, I don't know what was in the air, but I was feeling myself already. You know,
you were on your hot girl shit.
No, I don't know why. I think it was an attitude more than anything. Like I looked like I always had been, but like, yeah, I was just like, oh, let's like lean out for summer for fun. But I was already kind of just like, oh, I'm fine with myself right now. Like, I feel comfortable in my clothes. I think it was because I finally started shopping for clothes that fit me and not like sizing down and being like, oh, I gotta fit into these clothes and wearing them anyway and being uncomfortable all the time. Like, I was already like, okay, here I'm shopping for clothes that fit me. Like, I bought a few bathing suits that I absolutely loved, and like I did other things. Like I got my hair done, like I started getting my nails done. I was just kind of like, okay, well, this is just like a fun little thing I'm doing on the side, but I'm already like fine with who I am already. You know, it wasn't kind of like a, once I lose like 5 pounds of body fat, then I'll love myself, you know? So first and foremost, get that in order as best you can, before just thinking that losing weight's going to make you happy, because I guarantee you it's not.
No, you're going to be just as disappointed on the end. You're going to find something else that's not perfect with your body. You're going to find something else to pick on, because that's the way you are allowing yourself to live your life. You were on some hot girl shit.
I don't know why.
I loved it. I loved it. It was fantastic.
I mean, hey, it's a lifestyle.
It is. It is.
Hot girl shit is a choice, honestly. It's a choice.
It is. And you can decide it. And I think for you, especially, because I remember conversations we had, it really came down to you not comparing yourself to people anymore. Like, I think that was a big change for you, just from like seeing you like with programming and like nutrition coaching and all that stuff. Like the conversations that we had in the beginning were, I want to look like this, or I want to perform like this person, or I want to be able to do this like this person can do. And by the end of all of the things that we did, your language changed. Like it was like, I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this because I want to. Like, I don't want to do this exercise anymore, so I'm not going to. You really started just honoring what you wanted to do. Like really, like, and that's a big part of it. Like you said, like if you don't have it together up here before you go into weight loss, like it's not going to fix it. You're still going to have the issue up here. From like a mental standpoint, like if you do not like your body before you lose weight, you are not going to like it afterwards, because you haven't done the mindset work to fix yourself. And that's a really big thing that people need to understand. You can lose all the weight in the world, but if you continue to have negative self-talk, if you continue to compare yourself to others, if you continue to use external sources of validation, it's not going to fix anything. You're just going to be skinnier and still do those things. So I 100% agree. You have to be in the right mindset to lose weight. And that's always. Like losing weight does not fix your problems. In fact, it typically tends to exacerbate them, because now you have a different look and you still aren't happy. Like it's very interesting, but you're 100% correct. Like you need to go into this for the right reasons, not just I want to be leaner for the summer because I want someone to like me, or I want to be able to post awesome pictures of myself on Instagram. Because the second it gets hard, if those are your reasons, you're going to quit. Like you're going to quit, because your why does not outweigh the amount of work you have to put in. Amazing.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, that's all things summer. All of our tips for tackling summer and traveling and weight loss when it comes to being summer ready. Maybe we'll do Daddy to the Shreddy again. I don't know.
Not this year.
might do a little shreddy. And purely just because I want to see if I can. Like I haven't tried to cut in a long time. Like actually cut. Like I've been like, oh, I'm gonna cut, and then I like get into it, and I'm like, no, I really don't care about this.
I'm in my strong girl phase right now.
Isn't
I'm
it
just
so
starving
great?
all the time, and I've like actually started using my real percentages again instead of being like, oh, that feels heavy today. I'm like, suck it up and do it.
Getting into this
But
new programming, I'm literally like, I'm just holding on for dear life.
yeah, no, I'm ravenous all the time. Like, oh my gosh, and my butt cheeks today hurt so bad from all of the lunges that we did. Oh my gosh, it
Yes.
woke me up a few times in the middle of the night because they hurt
I
so
didn't do the
bad.
lunges because my legs were so sore from Monday and Tuesday. I was like, oh my
Oh,
God, what is happening to my body right
yeah,
now? Amazing. Awesome. Well,
no
good
joke.
chatting with you again, and we will see you guys next week for another episode of the Bad Bitch Collective podcast.